Slowly and quietly, it's been the most fantastic day. Thank you, thank you. Over to you, Philadelphia.
And this marvellous concert continues from Philadelphia over on BBC1 in just a moment. Tomorrow, the Two Ronnies come to BBC2.
A dramatic incident took place at home of Sir Hugo Milverton in Weybridge. What was it?
He was found lying on his study floor. He'd been poisoned, he'd been strangled, he'd been shot 5 times through the head and stabbed 15 times in the back.
Correct. And what was the conclusion of the police?
He was dead.
I knew a gal called Droopy Drawers. Her ears stuck out like taxi doors. Tall as a pole and thin as a candle. Hard to please, but easy to handle.
You like women, don't you, eh?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, just give me pipe, the great outdoors, and a beautiful girl, and you can keep the pipe in the great outdoors.
The Two Ronnies coming to BBC2 tomorrow at 9. And 60 Minutes on 2 highlights of the day's play in the first Test match. First, Russell Davis presides over our Saturday review of the arts and media.
Who's making the headlines on Soviet TV? Who is Professor Kingsfield and what was he doing in London? What would you do with a water tower in Bermondsey? Who's writing the best books for babies? Prize-winning authors from the infantile market later in the programme, along with architectural redevelopment by the Thames, the cartoon strips of Jules Pfeiffer brought to life, the amazing career of actor, producer, autobiographer and advertiser John Houseman, and a discussion of so-called news values from around the world, with evidence taken from last Monday's bulletins. First, with apologies to those of you still waiting for the sun to come out, something to celebrate the arrival of a kind of summer. There's nothing nicer than a summer garden, unless it's a bigger summer garden, with perhaps a gentle slope to it and a stream running down, and the odd sculpture dotted around. That was what was offered for public view last year on the outskirts of Oxford, where Joan Crossley Holland and the Oxford Gallery organised an exhibition of sculpture in a garden. This year, it's happened again. Most of the pieces are intimately fitted into this particular garden, yet the event is recognisably an exhibition. The house is High Wall, Headington Hill, Oxford, with its garden designed by Harold Ainsworth Peto. Some of the exhibits involve the water that seems natural to this environment, especially this summer. Others, like this heavy bronze by Elizabeth Frink, impose an almost ceremonial atmosphere. Most of the work on show is in some form or other for sale, which means, frustratingly, that highly desirable garden furniture commands art world prices.
Really comfortable.
I read that you don't necessarily claim the status of art for this particular piece. Is that because the problems involved are mainly scientific to get it working like this?
Well, no, I mean art with a big A. You know, I don't necessarily see it as I see the other pieces which I've got in here. It's more in a sort of design field.
So ideally, would you like to see the sort of plumbing element hidden away and just the spouts coming?
Well, no, I quite like the patinated copper, and I've left it overtly clear that I've used plumbing fittings. But I do feel this is just the basic skeleton for a design which could be integrated into a garden or into an architectural setting or something like that.
Now, we've just seen how it rises and falls. What is the mechanism that causes that to happen?
Well, it's simply a timer.
You have a curve on these columns of water coming out.
Yeah.
Tremendous trial and error must go into that.
Yes, it is. It's much more trial and error than mathematics. Some people credit me with a certain engineering skill, but it really is just trial and error.
Right, well, thank you. Let's go and look at your brimming fountain then, over there.
Okay.
Shall we do that? Is that all right?
The thing that's immediately attractive about this is this tremendous meniscus brimming quality of the top of it. What made you think of that?
Well, I suppose what's intrigued me and excited me about water, one of the qualities is this still, absolutely still level quality that you get in deep lakes. And I really wanted to sort of emphasize that depth, that sense of stillness, and make a contrast with different types of water so that you have this very still deep water and then turbulent water as it slips over this weir.
It must be a matter of tremendously fine calculation just to is it a matter of hammering down this lip so that it just falls over the edge?
No, it's a matter of calculating the depth of that water, which in fact I got incorrect 2 or 3 times. I've had to slowly lower it down the shape. But what I did was to make it in 2 pieces and get it lower until I was surprised at how thick this layer of water has to be. In fact, it's over 1/4 of an inch all the way round.
Really?
Just to get that, yeah.
Are there little holes in the central bit?
Sorry?
Are there holes in the central
Are there
bit?
little holes in there?
Or does it all come over the top?
It's running down over the rough surface.
Yes,
It just
lovely.
pulls off the surface.
Yes, yes, I thought so. And
Very nice.
when there's a little tweaky bit, you see it looks
Yes.
this is a little.
Yes, it's very nice.
And it's very deep.
Yes.
Underneath this
And pull up, yes.
This piece, usually referred to by passing visitors as the rail, is actually entitled Suspended Reflection.
That's presumably where the double reflection is.
actually
Yes.
works off
Yes.
where the other one picks up.
Yes. No, it's very clever. Very, very nice.
Over that space.
Oh, in the middle, going out.
Yes, do you see?
Yes, I see. I was looking at the middle bit, coincide with the green.
Yes.
But no, that's very nice.
Pick it up again.
Mm.
Yes, do.
Good.
Meanwhile, under the high wall itself, it's obviously a practical burner. Will it burn significant quantities of stuff?
I mean, it wouldn't burn a great deal. I mean, the idea is it's more of a kind of gesture in the garden. If you've got the odd casual bit of debris, you can pop it in this. So it's unlike the normal kind of garden burner, which is rather clumsy and the sort of thing you tuck round the corner. This is a decorative feature. Maybe, you know, at night you could illuminate it if you're having a party or something in the garden. So it's to act in that kind of way.
And the materials are what?
It's made out of cast concrete. It's limestone aggregate. That gives it this white colour. And then it's an asbestos substitute on the inside and a kind of fireproof resin which makes this kind of edge around here. So,
Is this the site you always had in mind for it?
something similar to this, where you've got a vista where you see this at a distance in relation to a pyramid which is at the far side. On the pyramid there's a little sphere which is a kind of open version of this. So you would see them more like, if you looked at the sphere from a particular viewpoint, it kind of eclipses this, so you have an eclipse of this sphere from a distance.
Here's an example of the opposite tactic. Useful household-type materials being turned into something triumphantly impractical. I think I see a ball cock in there. Are all the components conventional plumbing bits?
They're essentially all plumbers' materials, yes. I think it's always good to have something that's discordant, because it makes you, it emphasises itself, but it also emphasises the beauty of the more pastoral garden. I like fountains that instead of just squirting water, actually do something, come alive. I suppose there's a bit of a Professor Brainstorm in it.
Well, yes, I was going to say, is there a particular British tradition of this kind of machine?
Madness.
The world of news seemed very far away in that Oxford garden, but you can bet that inside the house was the inevitable TV, ready at the turn of a switch to bring news from any or all of the 5 continents, outer space, and even Rockall. I first became conscious of news in the era of BBC Wireless, when stern, almost military voices brought us a very civil service style news that we seldom questioned. No doubt this was a hangover from the war when you had to take whatever news you were given. Nowadays, news gathering is much more discussed in terms of style and the relative importance of stories. And it's to further that debate that I've been joined by three practicing news people. Kate Adie, one of the most roving of BBC reporters in recent times, Stuart Purvis, editor of Channel 4 News, currently Britain's biggest bulletin, and Edward Baer, the foreign correspondent, now working for Newsweek and based in Paris. We're going to take last Monday's news as the initial basis for discussion. Mark Brown, author, psychologist and barrister, has been sifting through it.
Surely, one of the greatest cliches of our time was that we are living in an ever-shrinking world, that advances in communications are drawing people from very different societies closer together. So, what about television news in different countries? Is it an impartial window on a single global village, or mere biased and nationalistic entertainment? What if we compared 5 countries' main news programs, say, for last Monday, the 8th of July? That's exactly what we've done. We've taken the news from America, Japan, India, the Soviet Union, and our own 6 o'clock news, which comes from this BBC studio. How similar were the worlds portrayed that day? How similar the implicit values? Let's start at the beginning.